Yeah,
And
but
I think that's a nice segue off actually to probably one of the biggest, not the biggest DC failure, but the biggest DC failure we're going to be talking about today. That's for sure.
mhm.
And well, there's not much else to talk about with
That's
DC.
funny.
They're not really releasing much,
Yeah.
are they? So, but it's Black Adam facing huge theatrical losses of, I mean, bare minimum $100 million. It's quite a lot. Now it's interesting. This article uh, it breaks down quite a lot of stuff, and it also has a back and forth with Warner Brothers. They're saying the article itself notes, oh yeah, based on this and this is going to lose money. Oh yeah, but Warner Brothers have pushed back on it and said no, that's not the case. Oh, it's slightly less, but we're talking like tens of millions less. It's not exactly like 50, 100 million less. There's still significant amounts of cash. But I feel like this is sort of an interesting point, I think, for Hollywood, where they learn now finally that the age of the movie star is over. Like Dwayne Johnson, arguably one of the biggest, one of the biggest sort of characters out there. Larger than life, massive following. If he can't, not that he's a great actor, he's fine, but if he can't conjure up a massively strong box office performance, hopefully this will now then tell studios that the age of the movie star is over, and they really need to focus on who they hire as writers, because that's the problem. Because loads of people will probably point to like Top Gun Maverick, for instance, and like Top Gun Maverick did so well because of Tom Cruise. It didn't do well because of Tom Cruise at all. It did well because it's a tight story. It didn't blow blow up the performance in the box office because of Tom Cruise. He's an element of it, but he's not the sole draw. Going to watch a huge spectacle without any massive agenda and just watching this film, and great effects, etc. Whatever you want to. That's the first draw for this film, not Tom Cruise. So I really, a bit of a side note before we dive into this actual news, but I really, really, really do hope that this goes some way to telling studios who they need to focus on hiring. You get good talent, sure, to be in the titular roles of things, but it's all about the writers. If you don't hire good writers, you're not going to be selling a good movie. I think I didn't mind Black Adam, but it's not a great film by any stretch, and it could have been so much better. I mean, they spent like 10 years on this. Did you watch Black Adam? I can't remember if you did.
I sure did. I saw it in the theater.
Okay, so what did you think about it then?
It's it was fun
And actually,
popcorn.
let's get more to actually the
Sure,
the
sure,
movie
not a
star
problem.
situation. Actually, let's focus on that.
Yeah.
Do you think the name of the Rock would be a draw? I mean, in theory, it would be, wouldn't it? I think.
Um.
Bearing in mind, I know that movie stars are days
Well,
are
I think
numbered, but I
right. I
still
think
think.
everyone knows who he is.
Hmm.
I think that everyone. It just depends on the project. It seems his pattern
Hmm.
is that he's better in an ensemble
Yeah.
movie, right? Just as far now, if we're talking about money wise, right? The
Hmm.
Jumanji, to me was
Yeah.
like his
Yeah. Yeah.
biggest,
True.
right? It was like his biggest hit.
Hmm.
Th- you know, and it was funny. It was
Hmm.
entertaining. This was mildly entertaining, some fun things. It just, I don't think The Rock could really help just the lame writing. It was
Hmm.
lame. I mean, besides a couple of cool moments, it was just like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to take it seriously.
Yeah.
It's kind of silly, stupid fun. But um, I, I think just with The Rock too, outside of his fans, people know that his acting is limited. He's good in
Yeah.
supporting characters, right? He can really like. I honestly thought he was going to catapult after I saw him as an actor, right? Because back
Hmm.
then when he was starting, the rundown was great, but when he did Be Cool, when he had that
Hmm.
that role, um, I think he was like a, like a hitman, but had a lot of flair. You know, that was a great little role for him. I was like, man, this guy, there's something here. And then it just never happened for him. He just kind of became, all his movies
But
are cookie cutter.
do you think that's then timing again? Do you think it's timing? The age of the movie star is over, because I really do think that is the case. Like no one goes to watch, very outside of the exception, no one goes to watch a movie because of an actor anymore. It's so very rare do people go. They're more selective. You're not just gonna just buy into it hook, line, and sinker. You're going to look at the trailers, the story, a bit of reviews, word of mouth, and then choose. The name might catch your attention, but it also everything else as well, right? Like, do you think that's timing then for him? He sort of got into acting, and then, that sort of coincided, correlation with the decline of the movie star, the incline of social media, and the fact that these plebs expose themselves, not literally, on social media as being fools, and thus, very divisive. Do you think it may have coincided with that a little bit? Because I think so.
I don't think it just wasn't a great film, man. And we didn't have good word of mouth, and
not just timing, this. I mean, you were saying about his rise to stardom. You thought he was going to kick off, and I'm like, well, do you think that coincided with the decline of movie stardom?
Probably. I think what happened. Okay, so going back to that, I think what happens with when you follow an actor over his career, you're following him because he or she consistently surprises you, entertains you, like a Cate Blanchett, like a Meryl Streep, even Emily Blunt, to a lesser degree. So I think those are dying. I think those are a dying breed.
Things.
What's that?
Yeah, I would take or leave so many things now with so many different actors. I'm just barely interested in what an actor does. I'm more interested in the story itself.
Well, see, and then it goes back to that. So there's they're a dying breed. There's very few that we were like, oh, Brad Pitt, I'm gonna go see his movie. But even other people say, I hate that guy. Tom Cruise. There's very few people now that unanimously, I'm gonna check out that Tom Cruise film. I'm gonna check out that Mission Impossible film. Cavill could have that. That's another thing, is that you can't force that. I just don't. Dwayne Johnson, for me, never has that leading man to where he's dynamic and versatile.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, nothing compared to like a Leo or and even Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, they're not necessarily versatile, but they're so charming and likable.
But see, I would still say Keanu given Reeves, the current climate, but I still, I'm not massively, even someone like DiCaprio, I look at his sort of body of work, and even I'm not, again, like my ears will perk up and go, oh, what's he doing now? But I'm not like, I must go and watch everything. And it used to be like that for a lot of movie stars,
So I think now what it's like is, for better or for worse, it's the franchises, it's the directors. I'll go see. Go ahead.
Very rare that you're talking about old school auteur directors, a Tarantino, a Ridley Scott, maybe, you're talking Del Toro, you're talking about those kind of directors, and Nolan.
Right. Nolan, Ridley Scott, Del Toro, Scorsese. What I'm saying is that, and I'm not saying that they'll make a #1 block, weekend. I'm not.
But your ears will perk up and go, oh, let me see what they're doing.
Yeah, that's me, right? That's me. I think, again, their body of work stands the test of time. So I'm always gonna give a new Tarantino movie my money. Always.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go see it in the theater.
Maybe the death of the movie star has now gone in with the rise of the director instead, or they've just kind of swapped themselves out, because there's so many more movies now, whereas they didn't used to be as many. There's so many more movies, so many more options, that you're inundated with the star, and thus their body of work, if they do a lot of work, is mired potentially in less quality. Maybe it's to do with that.
Absolutely. Because there's one thing we haven't mentioned, is that these actors are now doing television. You know, you could never imagine 20 years ago, like a Brad Pitt or Leonardo DiCaprio doing a streamer.
Yeah, true.
Scorsese doing a streamer.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true. Yeah, that is
it takes
true.
away the magic of movie telling. And then you add to the fact too that a lot of these actors are on social media, ruining their own mystique as an actor by backing up whatever political, whatever they feel passionate about. There's always going to be that part of your audience, of your fans, that don't agree with you. So but being an activist is
on social
really
media
a big thing right now.